Tat Sat. Welcome to Gyan Bhakti channel from Swami Nikhilananda. My humble prostrations to the all-pervading Brahman, to my worshipful Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayanandaji Maharaj, to Ram Parivar, all sages and saints, and to each of you, divine soul, watching today's satsang. We are currently studying the Holy Scripture, Mysticism of Ramayana, commentaries by my Guruji, Swami Jyotirmayanandaji Maharaj, narrated by myself, Swami Nikhilananda. So today we will study the mystical meaning of Kamadeva, trying to dissuade Lord Shiva or wake him up from his intense samadhi. So the plot to awaken Shiva from samadhi with the help of Kamadeva, the Cupid god, provides not only a colorful story in itself, but dramatizes some very important truths about spiritual movement. Kama is the spirit presiding over erotic movements in human personality. Kama, intense desire, passion, lust, the awakener of passion and lust. The fact that Shiva does not marry Uma until after Kama has been burnt up is testimony to the fact that this marriage represents a divine state of mind in which passion has been transcended, controlled. Such a mind is achieved by the practice of brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is celibacy, and that is why it is so highly practiced or recommended in Sanatana Dharma. Brahmacharya is usually defined as the practice of sexual restraint, but the concept of brahmacharya has many ramifications that must be reflected upon properly by an aspirant. A true brahmachari possesses a mind that has outgrown normal concepts of maleness or femaleness. Sex distinction has meaning only on the physical plane, not in the subtle plane of human existence. We are all souls, we are all Atmans, and therefore there is no distinction of male or female at that level. Also, brahmacharya means to live in God, Brahman. Acharya, all our actions should be sanctified and sanctioned to achieve that goal. Once you begin to truly understand that you are spirit, not body, you are becoming successful on the path of brahmacharya. When you see yourself no longer as a male or female, but just as a devotee of God, then you become qualified to marry intuitional knowledge. Uma. When Kama was marching towards Shiva's abode with all his powers, and he unleashed them, even great ascetics fell hopelessly under its sway. This is a dramatization of the fact that the human mind cannot be enlightened unless it gains a powerful momentum to go beyond the pull of the world process by developing devotion to God, which roots out the spirit of passion. So the roots of passion have to be pulled out. And that's where our sadhana practice goes in doing good things, purification in other words. As long as the subtle principle of karma exists in the mind, even though a person may practice intense austerity, he can again fall into the old pattern of worldly behavior. So we have to be very cautious on this spiritual journey. We may be in a false sense thinking we have achieved that high state till we are tested. Only then we know where we stand. When a person promotes satsang, is good association, which is always recommended. Satsang is always good. Sat, truth, sang, association. So when we practice austerity and meditation for a long time, it may seem that kleshas or afflictions of the mind are anger, greed, hate and lust, etc. We feel they may have gone away forever. That stage is described in Raj Yoga as Tanu, or thinned out state of the kleshas. But it's not extinct, mind you, it's thinned out only. An overconfident aspirant who has reached this stage may falsely conclude that he will no longer fall under its influence. of these lesser urges. He thinks he has risen above those vices. Due to false identification, he may then relax his sadhana and abandon vigilance in his relationships. He may think he has achieved a higher state just because for so long these things did not bother him or disturb him. As a result, the subtle principle of karma that still exists in the mind is fed with illusion and comes back with greater vehemence than ever before. Why? Because it had never died. It was just thinned out. It's still there. And the minute it finds that opportunity to come back, it comes back roaring, even more stronger than before. So we have to be very cautious on this path to make sure that we are totally in the clear. Otherwise, we still have risks. The kleshas in the tanu state, kleshas, these things, these vices in tanu state or attenuated state are compared to poisonous snakes that have maybe been frozen in the Himalayas. So there's the story. He thinks, oh, it's a frozen snake, so let me put it on garland like Shiva, and he starts walking that ascetic, and all of a sudden the sun rays come, and as the rays of the sun come, that frozen snake is not dead, so he comes back to life and he starts hissing, and all of a sudden the ascetic is scared and throws away that snake, and he could have died if the snake bit him. So this is what a lot of sadhaks also go through. They get overconfident that they have controlled their senses, but that is not to be the case, and the risk is as soon as those snakes come back to life, they do more harm than good. Soon they start hissing ferociously. So we have to be very cautious on this path, because remember, this journey is not about the world and what the world thinks about us. It is who we really are and what we think about our relationship with God. So this is a two-person, maybe a three-person journey. You, your guru, and God and guru are the same. There is no difference. So really, it's a direct relationship with the divinity. So we cannot fool it. We cannot bypass it. We cannot do anything that is unethical if we are serious on this path. Otherwise, we'll continue to evolve gradually to whatever degree we have attained, and that's okay. That will be a much slower but a much longer process over many embodiments. But if we are serious and we want liberation in this very life, then of course we have to do much more sadhana, like people who take sannyasa do, or these serious spiritual aspirants who want to spiritualize their lives do. Choice belongs to us, but at least we have to be honest with ourselves where we stand. Only those who have developed bhakti, that is intense devotion to God, and are truly established in jnana or wisdom, remain unagitated by kama and attain enlightenment. So we all have to pass that final test of Kamadeva. When he comes in its full fury, can we still be unagitated, and can we still be immersed in God consciousness? And this is what Buddha had to do in Buddha's story, and so many other sages and saints who got enlightened. Before that stage, they were tempted, they were given lots of lustful, passionful things that they rejected. In Buddha's case, Mara sent his very beautiful daughters to seduce him before he got enlightenment, but Buddha was totally firm and he did not entertain them, and eventually they had to go away. Then thunder came, fire came, etc. So that is the point in this process, to explain to you that our resolve has to be totally firm on that path as part of the testing, just like Parvati was tested time and again. In them, the mind is lured by a spiritual delight which cannot be experienced in the world of sense pleasures. Once we have developed bhakti and devotion to God, we get a different kind of fulfillment, passion. It's much higher than passion, that bhakti, that para bhakti state where we are communing with God directly. Therefore, we become like honey rather than enjoying every flower, we enjoy the nectar of honey itself, which is a combination of all these things. So we don't have to think that this is a pathetic state, but we have to transcend the barriers where we are so intoxicated with these worldly pleasures that we have not tasted that pleasure yet, so we find it hard to give up. But it will happen to serious devotees and serious spiritual aspirants. So once the mind glimpses that delight arising out of intuitional unfoldment, when you taste that honey, Kama trembles before that vision. That's when nothing can destroy you anymore. So we have to have a Shiva-like resolve. In front of us, Kama should disintegrate. But easier said than done. We have to go through many a test before we reach that state. So that is the essence for today's satsang, and we will continue this mystical meaning of Kamadeva's destroying Shiva's Samadhi tomorrow. This is Swami Nikhilananda. Om Tat Sat.